And the Muay Thai guys are live. Episode number 108. We are going to get right into it. We're going to be talking about the reasons of why you may not be making it to the gym and the reasons of why it may be just an excuse within your mind. And honestly, I was just coming back from the gym. I rushed here from training and I've been getting to the gym a lot more to work with Jack. So one of my training partners has a big fight coming up. He's fighting a southpaw. I'm a southpaw. So that kind of accountability with your partner, a lot of the times, kind of stimulates, gives you an extra gear to get there. And then once I heard that he wasn't going to go there, he's resting this afternoon and just going to the regular fitness gym, I thought twice about it. And between that and a few of our good mates, part of your mastermind, actually, that we had a discussion of, this seems to be a pretty regular topic. So why don't we have Sean start this off and weigh in on this topic a little bit?
Yeah, so it's been something that I've struggled with throughout my career, and I'm sure it's just like a common theme that everyone has to deal with in one form or another, whether it's related to training or life, because it's so easy for life to get in the way and for excuses to pop up where you can use those to just avoid training, avoid doing the things that you know you should be doing, but you're not doing. And there's systems that you can set up in your life that will help you avoid these excuses. I mean, we'll be going deeper into these types of things, but I think it's important to first, like we were talking about. So we were talking with Peter and Chris, who were in the mastermind, and we were speaking about how, like in Alcoholics Anonymous, the first step is acknowledging you're alcoholic. And when it comes to training and skipping out training and making excuses, the first thing you need to do is acknowledge that you're making excuses, because it's really easy to look past that, justify it, and make yourself feel okay about it. And although there's a time and place for that, if the excuse is legitimate, 9 times out of 10, it's not. And so you're kind of training yourself to make these excuses so you avoid the discomfort of training, so you avoid just growing and evolving as a person and as a Muay Thai athlete. So I think it's really important, the first step to overcoming these obstacles of making it to the gym is you got to acknowledge it. And I think that's a super important concept to first discuss.
Honestly, the surprising part of everyone that's in the mastermind, I mean, in a way, it's kind of handpicked because you did grab a few people that you know how to be honest with and they feel comfortable, speaking about their weaknesses or insecurities, whatever it may be. But I've noticed that to a lot of people, it's almost a reality, right? So like they speak out loud these excuses, and in their mind, it doesn't seem like they're actually excuses. Like it seems like a reality. Like it's impossible for them to really make it until you have someone that has been in those situations. And me having coached the past 5-6 years or so, I feel like I've kind of gone through every kind of excuse that you can hear. I've gone through it myself. And then I've also met a lot of people that have had some of the worst conditions and still somehow made it to the gym. So they sometimes make me feel like a bitch. And that's what gets me up and going myself. So why don't we start it off? We're going to go over the six. I'm sure there's people that can comment on a number of other things as we're going through this, so we may add on to this. But as of right now, we have the 6 main obstacles of making it to training, and then our input on the solutions to them. And I feel like one may be planning. So the main one I hear all the time, and this includes my girlfriend, so I'm putting her on the spot right now, is that I'm going to do it tonight. Like, oh, did you get your running in? I'm going to do it this afternoon because I was going to focus on this instead in the morning, and then things got switched up. And then by the time the end of the day comes, something always pops up, whatever it may be. Like there's an extra meeting after work, or you're running late, there's traffic, whatever happens during the day, or it just puts you in a mood. Something happens during the day that just draws on your mental energy throughout the day. And then at the end of the day, you just have nothing left. So it's that much easier for you to skip out on training.
Yeah, I think I mean, there's a couple of different avenues I want to go down in regards to planning because although I think planning's critical, I think you need to do it in order to avoid that trap of having to make decisions in that moment of time. Because if you've planned ahead of time, it's easier to just go with the plan as opposed to break the plan. And you also save some of your like willpower in a sense too, because I read a book called Willpower, and it went over a lot of concepts and like how you drain your willpower throughout the day and how you essentially recharge it through sleep and through sugar, glucose. And as you go
Hmm.
on throughout the day, your decision making abilities actually wane. And so it's really easy to, well, either way, you're making a decision to train or a decision not to train. But it's easier to make the decision not to train because it takes less energy. You're able to avoid the discomfort and essentially pain of training. But at the same time, you're also like eating at yourself because you know you should be at training, and this anxiety builds up and this discomfort builds up because you're not there. So when it comes down to it, having this game plan kind of set up in front of you, so it makes it even more difficult to make excuses and to skip out on training sessions, I feel like it's crucial. But at the same time, planning will only get you so far. It's the action taking and actually following through with the plan, which is going to be super critical, because you can plan all day and all night, but if you're not following through with that plan and not taking the action, then it's just a plan. It's not anything worth bragging about. But like I said, having this master plan, this blueprint in front of you for your training schedule and for your routine, I think is crucial. And one of the most important aspects of it is having some type of goal or thing that you're striving for. Because if you don't have any, well, we've discussed this in a bunch of podcasts. Your why, like why do you train? Like why do you put yourself through all this pain and discomfort, hitting pads, sparring, and punching the face? And if you don't have a reason, it's easy to avoid it. And so you need to always be reminding yourself of your why and why you're going to training, why you're pushing yourself, your goals, and then you can reverse engineer what your goals are and figure out how many times you should be training, how long you should be training, what type of training you should be doing. And then it becomes more of like a game that you're playing and you just want to win the game. At least that's my perspective. What do you think about that?
Well, you also, we've talked about this recently, how many things that you're trying to juggle around between trying to evolve yourself from the mental aspect, your business, and then physically still trying to keep yourself in shape and ready to fight, having a goal of fights, whatever it may be. But I think a huge part of it is because you have your outline for every single day. Is you have an outline. I saw your first couple hours, right? So like you do it to 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I don't think a lot of people need to actually do it to that extent, that specific. But I mean, on the hour, which I've done in the past, and I'm implementing again right now, it makes a huge difference because waking up in the morning and figuring out what step to take, man, you're already losing. What you said, you feel like you're already winning because you're up at 5 a.m. Again, you don't have to be up at 5. Maybe you're up at 6, 7 o'clock. But there's something to it when you have it planned out, you have that mission from the get go when you start, right? So a lot of times I wake up in the morning and then I do the same thing that many people do, like, oh, I can do this later, I can do that later. Okay, right now I can kind of just like relax and like get my mind about things before I start anything. Versus the day before, you already have it written down. That's your schedule. You know, your boss isn't going to tell you to go work out to keep your heart healthy, to later be able to play with your kids and just for yourself, aesthetically, mentally, however you want to feel. And I feel like a lot of people just end up getting in a bad routine, and a good plan creates a good routine. And then you can use and ride the momentum from that. So I think it kind of goes with number 2, which is fatigue. This is a huge thing I've been trying to tackle. This is something we went over in the mastermind as well, is that I was having a hard time falling asleep. So now I'm just forcing myself. It doesn't matter whether I take melatonin, whatever it may be, but I need to get to sleep so I can get up at 6, 7 a.m., So I'm starting my day outlined the way it's supposed to be, and I'm getting my rest.
Like Paul was saying, he made it a point to start getting to sleep at a certain hour, whether or not his body was telling him to do it or not. And trying to get yourself into these routines and habits that is going to optimize your energy levels is also critical. And then it kind of goes back to the last step we were talking about, which was planning. Like you need to plan like your schedule. You need to plan your life. And if you're not doing that and you're just kind of going through the motions, it's even easier to get fatigued and tired because you're constantly trying to figure out what to do as opposed to having it already laid out in front of you. One of the most crucial keys to my success in like all areas of my life is this planning phase. And like you said, I go pretty detailed. I'm a little OCD when it comes to it because I literally plan out almost like every minute of every day. And does it go to plan? No, almost like never does my day go to plan. But the fact that I have it in front of me and I'm able to kind of have a loose idea of what I should be doing and what I should be avoiding, it helps me conserve my energy for more important tasks like training, like work, like my relationships, as opposed to using all this mental energy and draining all this mental energy just to make decisions on the go. So I'm glad you're back, Paul. Fucking internet, bro.
Beautiful. I love the comment from Samuel. The internet provider just doesn't want to put the effort in, man.
I know. It seems that way.
She's got excuses. I just want to use my own personal situation because I mean I was guilty of it in the last few weeks myself. In my head I wanted to put forth the effort and I spent the hours, but the amount of work that was coming out of the amount of hours I was putting in, the two did not correlate. I was putting in way too much time and not enough was coming out. And a huge part of it was me not getting the proper rest, thinking that I can stay up late nights, not have the best nutrition, and then wake up in the morning and tackle everything. And all I really thought about is, okay, I have some days that I feel like a killer, and I have some days where I don't feel like doing a lot of things. And then it takes me forever to accomplish anything. And then I thought of what is the difference between the two. And honestly, the only thing I can think of is just the amount of sleep. And then what I told you is when I went back to before my fight, for 3-4 months, it was the most consistent I ever slept, from 8 to 9 hours a night. And injuries didn't really happen. I felt great in every session. I felt more sharp in every session. I felt like I can advance my skills better because I'm there mentally, you know, being able to think versus trying to wake up during pad work or wake up during bag work. And for an athlete not to get injured, or for someone that has a job and has to take care of kids and whatever else once they get home, not to get injured, I think is huge. So this doesn't just play into getting to the gym. I think it plays around into all facets of life.
Well, I want to riff off something you just said, is that like you try to figure out what was the difference between the days you felt super motivated and driven and the days you felt lethargic and like apathetic. And you actually like were able to become an observer of yourself and figure out what is the key factor that's keeping you from really realizing your potential and having that drive each and every day. And once you realize it was sleep, then you were able to make the adjustments. But like I was saying before, if you don't have this type of awareness and if you're not able to observe your own thoughts and patterns and habits that you have, you're never going to be able to change them. And so that's where I feel like meditation and having some, it doesn't even need to be meditation, just go for a walk like outside in nature and like just have some time to yourself and like don't think about what you're thinking, but observe what you're thinking. And like understand like your subconscious mind is what makes up a huge part of the actions that you take throughout a daily routine. And so you have to start recreating just essentially recreating and changing the patterns of your subconscious into more productive things that are going to help you get to the gym on time, to make the training sessions, to put in the extra work, to get motivated. And so, coming full circle, I mean, planning and fighting the fatigue are two things, but the first step, like I can't emphasize enough, is like, if you don't know that you have these problems, how are you ever going to fix that? And so I think that's a really important concept to just really drill in your head since you're listening to this. and just really understand that you have to understand your own uh, thought patterns and habits in order to change them.
Boom. And moving on to number three, this one kind of shifts because this is more of a battle within your own head that can be lost before you even get there. So perhaps you have your planning down and everything is in order, but then this comes down to belief and anxiety in a way because you're thinking of a situation that's in the future and hasn't happened yet. And you're thinking of situations that may make you feel ill and intimidated, right? That perhaps you're new to the sport, right? Or it can even happen as someone at a professional level. Like I may not be on the same fitness level that I normally am, and I'm going with the same trainer that knows me when I'm in the best shape of my life. So then I'm just thinking like, oh, fuck. Pad work today is going to be a motherfucker, right? Like I have one hand, so I know I'm going to be hitting with that hand as much. I'm not gonna, and they expect me to perform. So I'm just going to be doing a lot of sets of kicks, right? And I know I'm not in the same shape. So it could be a very similar feeling. And one way to do this is that to go about this rather is to just again be honest with yourself at what point that you are at and know that not going is not going to make that situation any better. It's a way of procrastinating, right? It's saying that I need to get in shape, but then not going to do the thing that's going to get you in that shape or to get you to look the way you want to look. It's like that person that says, you know, I need to go to the gym first before I get to training. Like I need to get my fitness up before I get to training. Like you go to the gym to get to that level.
Yeah, that drives me crazy. Like in yoga too, I hear so many people talk to Liz like, "Oh, I'm not flexible. I can't do yoga." Like that's the fucking point of yoga. Like that's why you go to yoga. Like, "Oh, I'm not good at sparring." Well, do you go to the gym and do you spar? No. Well, that's the point of going to the gym and spar, so you get better at sparring. Like one of the things about momentum and confidence and like any motivation, whatever it is that it all breeds more of the same. So like if you go to training, is that we were talking to Peter, like that first time that you get to the gym and you move past that intimidation factor of like, oh, what are they going to say about? I haven't been in the gym for a while. They're going to give me shit, so on and so forth. They're going to make me throw up on the pads. Once you get past that point and you go to the gym, first you realize it ain't that bad. Like it's never as bad as you build it up in your mind. And then once you make it there the first time, then the momentum and the motivation and the confidence starts to compound. And then you're able to build that ongoing the longer you go. The longer you wait, the more of your anxiety and uncertainty and doubt compounds. And so it's really just up to you. It's just a decision you need to make whether or not it's important to you to feel good or if it's important to you to feel shitty. And the more you avoid this inner conflict that you keep fighting with yourself, I mean, it's always going to be there. There's always going to be conflict in your mind in one form or another. But the more you avoid confronting it, the more anxiety and less confidence and all these negative aspects and virtues are going to be really coming to the surface and they're going to eat you down. And then the momentum is going in the opposite direction. Once you're able to break that pattern and get to the gym, start feeling good, and build the momentum in the other direction, then you'll notice just a huge sense of just a huge difference in your life and the way that you see things and your body, the way you physically are present. And so I think it's really important to also consider that is that like momentum breeds more momentum, confidence breeds more confidence, anxiety breeds more anxiety. And so you have to, like I said, be aware of what patterns you keep setting yourself and then be able to either break them or continue on in the right direction in order to keep that momentum going.
And there's a lot of respect that comes with trying. I mean, if you're in Thailand, this is something that you must have come across if you spent any length of time here is a lot of the time on the pads, it's a really hard time if you give up, meaning you show the trainer that you're giving up, that you need a break. It'll make that pad work session a lot harder for you. So if you get there, it doesn't matter if you're tired. It doesn't matter if your technique is bad. It doesn't matter that you're not doing everything perfect. What matters is that you're trying. And I see this all the time. I see a fighter drop their hands and kind of show that they need a break, or they start asking a question to give themselves a break. And a lot of these trainers have gone through all these different tricks of how you're doing it to get an extra break. And what happens is then you get your ass beat. So they amp up the intensity, they amp up the speed, the volume at which you're hitting, punching. They'll make you do 30, 40 kicks at the end of the round versus just finishing the round, etc. Because they want to bring out that part of you, the part that doesn't quit. So a lot of the time, if you just work on it, like, I know I'm tired, this kick's not going to come out very quick, this isn't going to look maybe perfect or beautiful, but I'm going to throw it anyways, right? Because you have to finish the round. And honestly, when you do that and they know that you're tired and you're trying, they're going to be weary of that. They'll give you some respect. They'll let you teep them away. They'll let you jab them away, things like that, before throwing more. So it actually works in your favor to just show that you're trying. And same thing when it comes to you being intimidated to go, the shit that you're going to get from people, for you to go in there and be like, yeah, man, I fucked up. All right, but I'm here now. What now? What's next? Move forward.
I think there's a couple things about that. First is body language, like, is a great way to trick yourself into feeling a certain way. If you're slouched over, feeling like sorry for yourself, and you don't have like good posture, your brain automatically associates that with feeling bad, feeling tired, feeling fatigued. And like there's so many studies out there that talk about the importance of body language, and like how if you want to be more confident, like, sit up straight, puff your chest out, like, act more confident, and it will naturally come. Same goes with almost any personality trait or feeling that you're trying to exude. Is if the more you actually try to physically embody it, the more likely you're going to actually feel that way. And I think that's a really important concept to go on into our next conversation, or our next step, which is like your environment. Like, you are your environment, first off. Like, your mind, and wherever you are in this world, like, you are the first. Like, wherever you are, wherever you go, there you are, right? Like, you are everywhere you go. And so the first thing about your environment is making it like productive and good for yourself. And your environment is your mind, your environment is your body, your environment is your spirit. So if you're able to develop more awareness and the ability to change your environment, like your own, like, inside environment in your own mind, the more likely the outside environment is going to form around that. And then when we talk about the outside environment, having people who are going to support you and encourage you and hold you accountable to certain standards, that's going to be key in order for you to see true growth too. And then we talk about all this stuff. We're talking about, like, fighting anxiety to get to the gym, fighting these excuses to finally get to your next training session. This is where true growth comes from, like fighting against this resistance that is always going to come up. If you've ever read the book Turning Pro by Stephen Pressfield, he highlights this a lot. There's always going to be this resistance. There's always going to be this force kind of pushing against you when you're trying to do something that's going to benefit you or the greater good. And so if you're aware that, like, you're laying in bed, you hear your snooze go off, or you hear your alarm go off, and you're thinking to yourself, like, fuck, I just want to hit snooze, go back to bed. Like, if you can, like, catch yourself thinking that and then change the dialogue that's going on in your mind, that's the first step to making the action that's going to help break that pattern and get you in the right direction. I know I've kind of went off the side with the environment, but like I said, it all comes full circle. And I think the first step is, dude, like, I keep repeating myself, but I think
no, of course it starts
important.
with you. Yeah. And what you're trying to transcribe there is that if that's happening inside your own head, that's going to push outwards towards the people that are surrounding you. So a lot of the time when I would walk into the gym and the energy is kind of low, it would frustrate me. But then after some time, I started to be that person to start to get the flow going. I made a post about this recently about quality training partners and the things you can do to be one, to be a quality training partner. And one of the things I talked about is if you're feeling like the energy in the class is low, like it's not motivating you, inspiring you, why doesn't it start with you then? Why don't you be the one to start that? You know, you be the one that kicks harder. Like, yeah, you might be the one making more noise than everyone else, but hopefully everyone else follows suit. And even if they don't, who cares? You're doing it for yourself. Like, that's why we're all there. We're doing it for ourselves. So the environment, yes, it starts with you, but you can create it first of all. And then if it's really a lost hope, you know, you have to be realistic after time. If there's no one around you challenging you, no one around you that is pushing you, then after time it becomes really hard. Like what you said, willpower. By the end of the day, it becomes really tough. Same thing here. By the end of the day, like there's only so much you can do for yourself without quality training partners, without a good coach that's going to motivate you, that's trying to challenge themselves. You know, there's some gyms that are just comfortable where they are, you know? So by that time, you just have to be honest and look at the situation, how long you've been there, and perhaps look elsewhere, or at least, you know, give yourself a trial somewhere else and then move on from there. And I think this one really blends in well with what you were saying is accountability from your partners and from yourself, which we had as number 6, but I think we can blend it together with the environment is the accountability that a team can bring you. Like I know I'm able to get to the gym when I get that text like, yo, today, can we drill after class? Or like, do you want to switch pads? Like do extra pad work, do extra this. And when someone else brings that up to me that they want to challenge themselves, put in that extra work, well, I don't want to be the one to kind of bitch out and not do it, you know? And then I'm more likely actually to do the same for them when they're feeling lazy on a certain day, or I haven't seen them in the gym.
Yeah, accountability is a tough thing to manage, but I mean the first step to being accountable is like you said, having that environment and having the people who are around you help push you into the direction that you want to go, and then using that as momentum to push other people in the direction that they want to go, because that's all like the same energy. But when it comes down to accountability, I mean, one thing that's really worked for me is that like as much as I don't like disappointing like my family or my friends, I don't like disappointing myself more. And if I lie to myself, if I find any easy way out, I have to live with that shit. Like that's inside my mind from now on. Like I've been going back to this example was like my last fight. So I got knocked down in the 4th round. I was bleeding, and I remember thinking like I could just give up right now and no one would know because I just got clocked in the face. I looked dizzy. I could just act dizzy and lay down and it would all be over. And everyone would have, if I gave up right then and there, A, not many people would have known. And B, they would have encouraged me and be like, oh, that was a great fight. Like, you're tough, so on and so forth. But me, I would have known that I gave up and I just threw in the towel. And I would have had to live the rest of my fucking life with that, knowing that I'm a little bitch. And that same goes with whenever I'm trying to hold myself accountable to wake up early or to do anything I necessarily don't want to do. I know I have to live with that. And I guess it's just a really high standard I set for myself. And I think it's important to set really high standards for yourself. Are you always going to live by them? No. Like I don't always wake up when I say I'm going to wake up. I don't always follow through with what I'm going to follow through with. But that's not the point. The point is to have these high standards so you're able to most of the time accomplish these high standards and live by these high standards as opposed to setting low standards and living by those. It's the same idea with like setting big goals. If you set small goals and accomplish them, what the fuck does that do? Like whoop-de-doo. Like it's not about setting the goal. It's about having something to strive for. And that's what martial arts and Muay Thai is all about. It's like, you know that you'll never reach perfection. You will never be the best you are except for this moment right now. And so when you're able to like adapt that mentality is that like right now is everything, then the accountability kind of comes seamlessly into your own actions, into your own mindset. That being said, it does help tremendously to have an accountability system of people around you, because letting people down, having that social pressure of knowing that, yo, if I don't do this, everyone's going to be like, yo, why didn't you do this? And as something as
Or you
easy as
lose
that.
money by not texting me at 5 a.m.
Exactly. So, like, one of the things that I set up because I noticed myself kind of slacking off and not living to these high standards that I set for myself is there's this website called stick.com that's with two Ks, where you essentially bet on yourself, right? You put, like, I put $100 a week on myself to wake up at 5 a.m. every day. And then I'm able to also have a referee, and my referee is Paul. And so my job is to text Paul at 5 o'clock in the morning, my time, and to let him know that I'm up and I'm doing shit. If I don't
And he's
do
been
that,
doing that shit 10, 15 minutes early.
I've been waking up early, bitch, because I have this cuddle alarm because Liz always gets mad at me if I don't cuddle with her. So I set my alarm 10 minutes early. So then I cuddle with her for 10 minutes and then I wake up. And so when my cuddle alarm
By
goes
the
off,
way, that part is within his schedule.
it is.
Cuddling with Liz is cuddling with Liz is outlined in his schedule.
It legit is, man. Like everything is like, and I think it's important. I mean, at least at first, when you're trying to make these changes, is to be as detailed and thorough as possible. And once you've created them into habits, then it's okay to kind of focus on other things. But until then, at least writing things down on paper helps me out a lot too. But yeah, the accountability of knowing that, especially you, uh, knowing that you have high standards and that you wouldn't let me like cheat, you wouldn't let me like bitch out or find an easy way out. If I didn't do that, you'd be like, dude, you didn't do that. Like you owe $100 to this anti-charity that you chose to give money to if you didn't follow through. And that's another thing. Like if I don't follow through with it, $100 is going to something I don't believe in. And that's even more motivation for me to get the fuck up in the morning and do what I have to do.
People are enjoying your cuddle alarm.
It's important, man. It's an important part of my day. Otherwise, I get ringed out.
Let's close this one up with what I think is probably the most rational excuse in people's minds, and that is other responsibilities. People having kids to take care of after their work day, working overtime. Usually work is the biggest one, and I would say family is number two. What would you have to say?
I mean, it's hard coming from me because I don't have kids. I do my own work, and so I at some at one way or another, I feel like I'm not the person to preach this kind of stuff. But someone who's in your situation has it 10 times harder and still finds a way to make it work. And there's that for any situation, whether you have kids, whether you have a full-time job, whether your living situation is not ideal. Like there are people in, whether right now, currently doing it, or in the past, who have done it, who have proven that whatever your situation is, there's a way to work around it. And I also think another thing that I'm a big proponent of is, yo, if you can't find time to train, wake up earlier. Wake up an hour earlier. Like, fuck, like wake up at 4 if you need to wake up at 4 to get a run in. Like, there's always a way around it, but there's always excuses. And most of the time, the excuses are really easy to, because that's the way society has kind of ingrained it in us, is that, oh, like I have a job, like I can't get out of my job, so I can't go training. Well, maybe you can't get out of your job, but you can still go to training and you can still find a time and place to do that. And so, like I said, although I'm not in any kind of situations that are related to that, I just know so many people who have more difficult, who have gone through a lot of shit and still made it work. I mean, you talk about Sturgos, you talk about all these, especially fighters. Like, there's so many fighters who have overcome the odds to make their dreams a reality. And so, if people can come from absolute poverty without a family to live their dream, then why not you? Why can't you just make it to training session one day? You know?
Yeah, that's usually my main piece of advice when people say, I can't do this tonight and whatever it may be. I don't know when I'm going to fit it in tomorrow. I go, what time do you wake up? Well, I wake up, 6:30, then I start to eat this and that. I'm like, why don't you wake up at 6 and then go run for 20 minutes? Like, you can get a 5K in, before your day is
Oh, it's
started.
too
Like,
cold though. It's too cold,
you
man.
already, you already have a win, before your day even gets started, you have a win. You can always do that. I mean, 20 minutes, it's not going to make you more fatigued. If anything, that run is going to wake you up and give you energy in the morning. And then you can build off of it, momentum on top of it. Now, when it comes to me giving advice, especially on those different things, and that's when it comes to work. I mean, I've worked 3 different jobs, and I worked 2 jobs at the same time, being a full-time student and doing clinical in school. And that's when I figured out this is what I want to do, is because I performed really well fighting at Madison Square Garden for the first time. It was like probably 2-3 years into my career. And that's when I was in college and working around 30 hours a week on top of clinical, that and training. And I did really well. And that's where I kind of figured out, like, man, in a way, it makes you focus with every fucking thing you do. Meaning, like, you can do it, but you just have to be extremely focused with whatever it may be. So it's like when I went to training, I'm like, man, this is my 1 hour and 30 minutes of training. It's not gonna, like, this is all I get today. I get 1 hour, I get 1 hour 30, maybe I get 30 minutes in, but that 30 minutes, I'm going at it. That hour, if it's an hour, I'm at it and my mind is right there. Then it's homework. Then my mind is all there. I'm not procrastinating, like looking at the TV, whatever it may be, checking my phone while I'm doing my homework. No, man, I got to get this fucking thing done. It's like everything has like a deadline kind of deal, like that. That pressure you have where you have a project due in a month. I feel like that's what everything in people's lives is like, it's due in a month, versus everything should be like, damn, that shit is due tomorrow morning, and
Death
you're doing
crown.
it tonight, right? Death ground. Essentially what I'm going through right now. So I think that would be the main thing. And what you explained is that there's always a situation that of someone that's had it worse than you, and that's why I don't even speak excuses out loud anymore. Like, oh, I can't do this because
Don't give
this,
them that
because
energy. Yeah. Like, you put that out in the universe, that's a
I
real
can't
thing
do
then.
it anymore.
Yeah.
I'm like, if anything, I just like say to myself, like, yeah, you're probably right. I don't try to defend anything anymore. Like, what can I do to just improve my best? And like, maybe it doesn't feel good to do that sometimes, but I know a week, a month, a year from now, I'll feel better overall as a person, because I did some things that a lot of people aren't willing to do. And that's another thing. Just think about that. Like, there's a lot of people that have the excuse of having kids and not doing something. And how much more respect do you receive when you're someone that has overcome the odds? It makes your story that much more interesting to hear. Like, when I have Will, back at home in Connecticut, undefeated fighter right now as a professional, was undefeated as a light heavyweight with all finishes in the first round. He has 3 kids and he was working full time while training. And the guy is in insane shape. Somebody that looks like he's out of a comic book, And you hear about this all the time. Like, you see fighters bringing in kids, at the end of at the end of the fight into the ring, and just thanking their wife for putting up with that stuff and everything that it may be. So, oh man, yeah, we've gone off on a tangent, but hopefully that has given you some good examples. And maybe if you haven't seen something happen in your life, perhaps that's a sign that you need to surround yourself with people that are striving to be their best, versus a lot of people that are telling you, oh, it's okay. Like, oh my God, like, don't be so hard on yourself. You're busy. You're a busy person. Get the people that are like, nah, man, this is what I do. And then you're like, well, I'm not you. I'm not perfect. No, like, surround yourself with people that don't say things like that. Like, well, I'm not perfect. I'm not you. I'm not, I'm not like that. Man, you can become whatever the fuck you want to become. Like, you're not just a stale thing that is identified as whatever you identify yourself as. So,
I think one thing I wanted to say based off what you just said is that like we went over this in the Muay Thai Mastermind. Is like beliefs, right? Beliefs are something you have complete choice in believing. You know, like people believe in religion, and there's some crazy ass stories in religion. People believe in a lot of crazy shit. So why not choose to believe that you can do whatever the fuck you want, that you could live the dream life you want? Because when it comes down to it, like your results stem from your actions, and then your actions are stemming from your emotions, and your emotions are brought up because of how you believe in a certain situation. So it's BEAR, right? Your beliefs lead to your emotions lead to your actions, and your actions lead to results. So in the beginning, you need to have some type of belief that's going to propel your emotions in the right direction. Otherwise, the actions you take are not going to get the results you want, or they're going to be the results you don't want if you're bringing up bad emotions and bad beliefs. And so it really just comes to a choice. You get to choose, like you literally get to choose whatever the fuck you want to believe in. If you want to believe that, oh, I can't get up early because it's too cold, or I can't get to training because I have kids, like that's your belief. And whether it's true or not, that's up to you. And so when it
yeah,
comes down
cool
to
other
whatever
people.
you're trying to pursue in this life, it's just a matter of what you believe in. And as corny and cliche as that sound, it's all about belief, baby. That's all it is. Like if you
Yeah, and then
believe
we
in
have,
yourself, then that's all you need.
and Matt just commented on the live comment saying, I really need to hear this shit. I used to train Muay Thai 6 times a week. I would run 7K as a warm up. Now I haven't trained in months, but I just keep saying I'll go back soon.
Matt, get
I
your ass back
mean,
right
I mean,
now.
you just spoke it out loud. You're being honest with yourself. Why not, instead of writing it here in the comments, why not write it out in front of everyone, in front of your whole Facebook or your family, whatever it may be? Say, I'm going tomorrow to whatever place it may be, whatever you can find, the first one on Google, or do more of your research, and then say, I'm going tomorrow. And then people are going to expect to see pictures from it. So post your pictures from it, your video, and then just keep that momentum going once you do.
Yeah, call yourself out. Like doing that, the social pressure is a real thing. If you put yourself out there and tell people that you're going to do something, you'll feel like an asshole if you don't do it. And that feeling is not good. And then you'll feel like an asshole because you'll just feel like you let yourself down. And so it's twofold. But yeah, hopefully this podcast resonated. I know I think this was a good topic because we were, like Paul said, we were dealing with this in the mastermind group. And I think this is a common theme that often goes overlooked and like you don't think about it often because it's so easy to make these excuses, and it's so easy to lose track of your momentum and your training progress. And yeah, I think it's just a matter of coming to your beliefs, being aware of what your beliefs are, and then systematically changing them one by one. So hopefully this gave you some actionable, practical advice to implement into your day-to-day life.
Boom. It's been a while since we said it, and it reminded me because I was on the podcast with Coach Jeff Smith, and I said it at the end, and he's like, man, I've been missing that in the podcast.
Boom.
Boom. We got those. So again, those are the 6 things that we went over. Just to kind of kick it back, we went over planning, as an excuse, just not planning out your day correctly, fatigue, the amount that it draws on your willpower to just start your day off already in this state where you're on defense, fighting against every single thing that comes at you, every challenge, everything just feels like it's fatiguing you even more. Going into intimidation, just kind of breaking yourself and having that anxiety before you even get to the gym, how we can turn that around. Again, just try to listen to all of these points back. A lot of the people here said to keep this live video up. So you can always subscribe on iTunes. These always go up on iTunes, go up on Stitcher, and then they also go up on the Muay Thai Athlete YouTube channel with the video in there as well. So if you want to see our beautiful faces in black and white and talking heads, that's up to you as well. You can subscribe there. And then number 4, your environment, shaping the environment inside your head and also outside of yourself, maybe being that person that pushes the environment to change. responsibilities, using responsibilities as your excuse. And I think a lot of the points, if you take care of your planning and everything else that we spoke of before, then that'll become a lot easier to deal with as well. And then accountability with yourself, having your teammates hold you accountable, and then just what we said about Mr. Matt, that perhaps you can even put it out there, you know, like that social pressure of you wanting your word to mean something. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I do, by the time I get to doing it, sometimes actually it doesn't even make sense. Like sometimes I don't do it because like not I do it, but in my head I go, actually this doesn't actually make a lot of sense. I'm going to waste time doing this, but I told people I would. So now I fucking have to. Like I'm going to waste the next hour of my life, right? But what's more important to me is not that I wasted the hour of my life. What's more important to me is my word, and that it means something to someone, that I, you know, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. So hopefully you guys took a lot away from that. We want to say that this podcast is powered by Muay Nation. We are thinking of a way of whether switching the podcast over to a Muay Nation based podcast or just powered by. But it is powered by Muay Nation. Your support on there, going to nackmoynation.com. It is our VIP membership area where we have a lot of our private lessons, whether it be me doing a private lesson with people such as Lordzilla, or myself teaching a private lesson to certain students. So I have a really, really good southpaw tutorial technique, tutorial private rather, that I was teaching in Thailand, in Bangkok. A lot of people reach out to me about tall techniques, about being a southpaw. That is a perfect one to go over within the course there. Then you have discounts on everything, on all of our gear, on Muay Nation gear, Reaper gear, on whatever it may be, what else is in there, Sean?
Man, there's so much shit in there. I mean, you all know Sylvie. She has over 200 fights. She does a lot of privates as well, and some technique breakdowns. And then I have my own private lessons and fight breakdowns. We got Lawrence Kenshin up in there, Tiffany Van Sues, Chris Masseri, a bunch of mini courses and full courses like boxing for Muay Thai, Heavy Bag Blueprint, the first version, and a lot more. And then you also get discounts if you come to any of the retreats or training camps that we host. And speaking of which, we got one in February. It's starting to fill up, so make sure you go to thailandtrainingcamp.com. We have one in February and in April. And then I also have the retreats in Costa Rica going on in January, which is at muaythairetreat.com. So if you want to meet us, train with us, hang out with us, and just have a good vacation, if that's what you call it, traincation, then make sure you just check out muaythaivacation.com, and that has everything right there. And yeah, I'm really excited about this upcoming new year. And this last quarter, I'm looking to grind and get some things set up so 2019 can be the biggest year yet. But I feel like I'm saying that every year. Like, this year's going to be the biggest year yet, because it fucking is. It fucking is, man. So I hope you're on the same page. I think so.
I'm really excited because I feel like we're riding on each other's momentum. Like, a lot of us are just coming together, all these influencers, to just bring everyone the best product possible. A lot of people are trying to compete against each other. You know, a lot of companies try to break each other down and just say negative things and fill in the holes themselves. But I feel like there's nothing better than just riding on each other's momentum as a team. Like, a lot of what's happening in comedy right now is people having each other open for each other, coming to each other's shows. Like, you find out about one comic because you're a fan of one, and then you become a fan of the other. Maybe they're on the same showcase, whatever it may be, and you see how huge comedy is getting. I feel like we can do the same exact thing here in the Muay Thai niche by featuring each other, by being friends with each other, by promoting each other's things. I think you can be a fan of one and the other. I think promotions in the States can definitely take example from that as well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks all for listening and tuning in. Make sure you don't just listen, but you take action on some of the advice that we're giving. And yeah, until next time, this is the Muay Thai guys. We're out.
Peace.